Hello, and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network. Over that away is DZ representing his Los Angeles Chargers. And down below we have Nabman representing the Las Vegas Raiders. We have quite a bit of information to go over in today's show. We've had a couple pro days, which we're going to have more of as the time goes on here with more information about the various prospects, some good and some bad. And of course, we have in the very, very almost touchable distance is the NFL draft, where we will end up with each and every one of our teams hopefully making improvements as to make each of our teams more competitive and also in turn the league as a whole. So with that in mind, today's show we are going to talk a little bit about the pro days that we've seen thus far, but we are going to be largely focusing on a little bit of a draft preview now that really the bulk of any free agency has now settled down, and so we all pretty much know where we stand and what we would like to see our teams target in the NFL draft. And just for reference, we are going to generally focus on the first 3 rounds because it can get a little crazy when you start going deeper. Just gets a little too nuts to try to predict that sort of thing. Unless you're me, who predicted my Broncos drafting Devon Vele in the 7th round. But that's that is what it is. DZ, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. You mentioned pro days. I have not watched one single pro day. Not one.
Yeah.
All I've been doing is just checking out the prospects that most seem to think that are going to be there at 22, around that area. So that's kind of like what I've been looking into. Just checking out some of those guys. And then it's like, which direction does my team go? And do they trade back? And then, it's mock draft season. It's rumor season. It's smokescreen season. And, the team hasn't told us much. We just had I guess it was the owners meeting a couple days ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I listened to Jim talk to some reporters, and it was just a bunch of nothing. There was some positives. Like he said, Rashawn Slater, he saw was running, whatever that means. But so that's a good sign, because he's coming off of a patella tendon tear. So we'll need him, but I don't think he's ready for week 1 season wise, but who knows? But yeah, man. Other than that, it is draft season.
It is. Nav, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. Just moving and shaking, preparing for a move to the great state of Indiana where I was born. So a lot of moving parts and that type of stuff. So that's pretty much where I've been at. But I did take time to watch Pro Day today, and I guess we'll talk about that at some point here as we go. So, the nation's a little bit torn on that first pick on what we should do about it. But after today, I think a lot of people are going to change their mind just a little bit. So, because to me, it's a little bit harder to just throw a ball to your teammates with cameras on you than it is with a defense in front of them, because at least then you can count on the defense to do something you've studied for. I feel like a pro day, everything in your mind, you have to be perfect on every throw. And it's just not a valuable thing. Now, his teammates, though, did do some workouts that made a lot of people's eyes wide open. So we'll talk about that as we go. I'll turn that back over to you, Richie. Doing well.
So, may as well jump right into the pro day. I don't think it's a huge shock to most folks that odds are Raiders are going QB with your pick number 1. Now, I am curious, and I'd like to hear your feedback on that after the pro day, because that was really where the rubber meets the road in terms of the last preview that you're going to have of your potential future Raider quarterback, and deciding whether or not the trigger ought be pulled or not with him at pick 1 as a organization.
Lost you.
Lost your audio, Richie.
Showing muted right now.
Yeah. That was weird. It was like a...
Yeah. You were in the middle of a sentence. I just didn't catch the last part.
Here you go.
That was so bizarre. Anyways, the question here is going to be whether or not that pro day that you had there, what we all watched, is that going to move the needle in a negative direction, keep it neutral and or on course, or is that this is a done deal, etched in stone, thanks, we're done?
Okay. I mean, I can answer that question. I think I have a pretty good answer for it. I don't think it changed anything, to be honest with you. Fernando Mendoza made it very clear that pro day was not about him. He said, there's plenty of film on me. I want to go out there and I want to show the hands of my running backs, my tight ends, and my wide receivers. Now, you got to understand, Omar Cooper and Surratt didn't have to go out there either because they've already worked out. My thing I was looking for was, will these guys show up for him? Sure enough, they did. Hell, his center was on the sideline. Pat Coogan was on the sideline. And they, of course, in pro days, they have somebody doing the snaps. And, of course, I'm sure Mendoza's heard it, that he plays too much under shotgun. But in the offense they had, that's what it worked for. But he had a lot of great snaps under center that were quick reads, quick throws. And I'll tell you what, you guys, these two running backs, him being freaking Kalen Black, got to be careful. These guys are pretty dang good. And I'll tell you, the dude that showed me something was EJ Williams. So probably about 5 throws from the last throw. Now, let me explain to you. This dude threw 6 passes in 20 minutes without really too much of a break. So by the time he threw the last ball to Omar Cooper, it was just a Hail Mary throw. Just catch it. You know what I mean? It wasn't going to be on time. He was probably out of steam.
How did Omar Cooper look?
I mean, hands. I mean, he can react to everything.
He's kind of like a dark horse also. The reason I ask is he's a dark horse at 22 as being a potential pick. So
there's no way he goes to the second round, in my opinion. I don't see that. Surratt is another one, and people got to be watching, because this dude, to be honest with you, should be an early second, but probably will be in the third.
Be interesting to see what teams use Cooper for, because he's not really huge. He's not super fast.
6'1", 2.
I mean,
10,
they got him listed at 6 foot, but yeah. So it'd be interesting to see like what a team looks at him. Like, you see a prototypical X, or
he is, but he's a Jerry Rice. I don't like comping people to Jerry Rice, but it's a Jerry Rice style thing. His catches he gets is based on his precise route running. He makes you think he's going to do something, and he doesn't do that. And then he's connected to his quarterback so closely that his quarterback knows where he's going to be based on what just happened. So his quarterback just throws it to a spot, knowing he should be there. So if you look at Mendoza, any throws that he missed last year was a complete communication thing. It was one that just went into invisible space, is because one of the two of them thought the other was going to do something different. You know what I mean? And both of them are like extremely intelligent. But I will tell you this, EJ Williams, need to look that guy up. He's extremely fast. And one of the last throws Mendoza made, probably about the fifth to last throw, he chucked it, and I thought he was going to take it out of Mellencamp Stadium. I said, that's out the camp. He's just throwing it to show how far he can throw it. It's like a 60-yard throw.
I think they usually have them do that. Was he?
I thought he was throwing it. I didn't think he was throwing it to anybody.
Did he drop back? Like, did they have him do the whole okay? Because they usually
it was under center. No, it was under center. He just came off and just launched that thing, and it wasn't a big loopy pass. It was a laser.
Well, I asked that because they usually have teams will usually ask the quarterback to flat-footed throw the ball.
Well, that's pretty much what it was. He went back to his back foot and he just unleashed one.
Okay. No, I thought. Okay, I'm just saying it looked like if he was standing parallel, they'll just have him throw it, and that's how they judge their.
I don't think it was like that. I think this was more scripted towards the receivers. I think it was more of a debuting the receivers, giving them more flowers than anything else, and that's what I loved about it.
Is Raider Nation looking at Surratt? I see somebody is that okay.
Yeah.
You can get him in the third or second or third or something.
67 is if he rolls that far. But I'll tell you what, after EJ Williams, what I saw from him today, when he launched that football, I thought he threw that football just to show everybody how far he could throw it. And all of a sudden, this big, fast receiver came out underneath it named EJ Williams and caught it in stride in his back pocket at the 1 yard line. I was like, wow, that is a freaking crazy throw and catch. If that was scripted to throw that, what a great throw. What a great catch. That dude had to go get it. I'm sure Mendoza said, I'm going to launch this thing and you just need to go get it. That's a beautiful thing, man, when you have that kind of relationship with your team. And then when it was all said and done, they literally said 56 throws, and he's done. On the 56th, he just launched one to Omar Cooper, and it was just this big lollipop. Cooper caught it, of course, but he two balls were dropped, both by running backs, and one he missed because Surratt, I think if it was in a ball game, he would have actually went out to get it. But because it wasn't a ball game, he didn't have that adrenaline to it. Because I think he would have dove and caught that football at the end zone. But 56 throws, 3 of them touched the ground.
Can they just start the draft at number 2 this year? Do we have to go through all this rigmarole BS with Mendoza? Just be like, here you go. Here's your jersey. We'll see ya.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is a lot of these guys were already in the combine. They already worked out in the combine. They came for Fernando. So that tells me a lot about the character of him as a teammate. They wanted to be there for him, and Mendoza straight up said, I'm doing a pro day because I want my guys showcased. Hemby made amazing catch. Kalen Black made amazing catch. But I'm going to tell you what, my sleeper is EJ Williams. Write that one down, EJ Williams.
He's right now projected at an overall rank of 424.
Yes.
Positional rank at the wide receiver position, he's ranked number 59 out of all draftees.
Right.
And his projected draft position is an undrafted free agent.
Right.
So he could be one of those interesting dudes where the Raiders could value him higher as a result of his connection to Mendoza. And he could be he could legitimately be a value pick for you guys to get that the connection between quarterback and wide receiver.
And let me address this with Jeff real quick. To be perfectly honest with you, I think it's harder with the cameras on you without the defense out there that you don't have to read. Because a lot of times you can count on defense to make a mistake, and then you know where to place the ball.
I think it's harder at the combine than it is at their pro day. I think they're in their own backyard, though, at the pro day.
Right, but the thing about it is you're just pitch and catch at your pro day. But the thing about it is you make better throws under pressure, under game situations than you do if you're a great quarterback. You make better throws. Everybody can be negative all they want, and they can say what they want. I'm just saying what I saw was Mendoza was out there showcasing his teammates. He had no intention showcasing himself. He didn't have anything to prove.
He's locked in. I did lie about pro days. There was that one guy, and somebody maybe in the chat, correct me, that cornerback who tore his ACL, didn't play last year, and then he ran like a 4.3.
Oh, Pons? 4.31. Yeah.
No, I think he's like Clemson.
Oh, well, today Pons, that shorter corner for IU, ran a 4.31, but he ran in an unofficial 4.25.
The guy I'm talking about, I think he's like gonna be projected in the first round. But I'm like, but everybody's like going like, they've come a long way with ACL repairs. Like, you're running that fast 9 months later. That's insane. I'm trying to remember his name.
Well, they have, because what they've done is the surgeries are much less intrusive now. And so what they've been able to do, by the way, that's thanks to the American medical system, because there's incentive to make them less intrusive and better. Let's just, leave it there, because there's money involved. Exactly. And so when you have an incentive to improve something, it's going to naturally improve at a much faster pace, because these sports teams, as an example, like NFL and hockey and baseball and all these other leagues, they're all paying these top tier doctors to develop these procedures to get these guys back on the pitch, because like one star player missing from the field, I mean, they don't care if they're paying $1 million to get the guy having surgery, because the guy next time he's on the field is going to make him too.
I think I'm confusing Tennessee with Clemson. They're both orange. I think it's Gerard McCoy.
Oh, McCoy. Yeah.
So I think it was his pro day.
Clemson kind of threw me off.
They're both orange, like similar. I mean, one's got purple in it, but I've seen him being projected as like a top 15 pick, which is pretty wild. Oh, also breaking news before our show kicked off: Puka Nacua in rehab, which isn't a surprise because the dude's a complete head case. He's a badass receiver, but complete head case.
Really?
Yeah, he'll probably get celebrated for this with this NFL. They'll probably be like, "Oh, good job, Puka," and he'll come back to the Rams and write a whole story documentary on him or something.
That's crazy.
There's no way that guy got in college.
Bueno
academics.
Threw a name down there, Avion Terrell.
That's the Clemson guy. But Bueno, I got it confused with the Tennessee guy. My bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think that what you're seeing now is the upper tier echelon athletes, as well as organizations, businesses, etc., are pushing for these what used to be very complicated surgeries, and are willing to pay for research to make those surgeries better. So there's now financial incentive that's backing these surgeries up to not only make them last longer but also complete the rehab faster. so that these guys, if they do hurt themselves, are able to just right away like bounce back in such short time frames. I mean, don't you remember when Adrian Peterson ripped his ACL like all over the place?
Career injury.
When he was with the Vikings, or who?
Yeah, when he was with the Vikings. When he tore his ACL, that injury to any other person other than him at that time was done. Your career was over. Dude was back in like 9 months or 10 months and then almost broke the NFL record.
The thing about Ace, he was a specimen, man. Like,
yes,
it was ACL, MCL, PCL. It was the whole thing.
Yeah, he's special though. Like yeah, but yet still, I mean, regardless, it's crazy.
I mean, and then now you come to now and you look at a couple other examples. Shohei Ohtani, the Tommy John surgery. This dude throws harder now than he's ever thrown in his life, with more control. I mean, Jason Tatum, he wasn't even supposed to be playing this year, and he's MVP caliber for the Celtics right now.
Matt, I got beachfront,
and that's a basketball player.
He's
from an Achilles, dude. From an Achilles, that's crazy.
Well, I'm gonna push back on he's the only one in NFL history to do what he did, and you're correct. Like he not only came back, but he came back in like a different at a different level.
It's a whole new level,
which was, insane. Like, just to be clear, but and DZ, you're not wrong. He was a specimen of a human being in terms of his athleticism and everything else. But I mean, we've seen other players like legitimately coming back from ACL surgeries and have little drop off, if any, in their overall play, generally speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I agree. Vic did come out of jail and played pretty well.
I guess that was an injury, kind of.
It really depends. I'm going to say, Matt, it really depends on what type of injury you're referring to. In jail, I think there's some potential injuries that could have happened in jail.
Posterior injuries.
Yeah, you never know. But I think it really just depends on what we're hinting at here. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because in prison, he was no longer the big dog, pun intended.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody was, though.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody said 6 months, Biggie. Did we? Did somebody say 6 months?
Usually takes 9 months to a year to recover from ACL tear and MCL tear. Sure does. It usually does.
I think some of the new recovery times are being shrunk to like the 6-7 month kind of range.
Right. But he said usually.
Oh, usually most average people. Yeah.
Depends on the player.
Yeah.
Depends on their motivation and how committed they are to the rehab process. That's what it comes down to.
It also does depend on how quickly.
He's saying he did recover in 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, the dude's a freak. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like he's a freaking freak. But he's the guy that I'm sure if he was being tested, he's going to test for abnormally high testosterone.
They're going to
naturally. And I think that you're going to end up with a guy like that who's going to be able to heal quicker than the average person is going to be able to. And there's just some guys that are just born like that, and it is what it is. And so those guys are going to be able to recover faster. They're going to be able to work out more. Their body's going to be able to absorb more abuse and then bounce back faster. And that's why, I mean, I can't remember who I heard it from. It was a couple of the pros that said that when they went and watched Adrian Peterson play in high school, it was like watching a professional athlete in high school playing in the high school level. He goes, it wasn't actually fair watching him play when he was like he was the same age, but he just didn't. He looked like he was he looked like he was like 10 years older than his peers. It was ridiculous.
It's like, did you ever see Andy Reid at the pass, kick, punt competitions when he was a kid?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should look at that. Andy Reid at the those competitions. The what is it? Pass, kick, punt competition.
Yeah, I think they were big back then, right?
No, he was
because Jim Harbaugh talked about those.
Now he was his size now. In that competition, he's like 13. It's unreal, bro. I was like,
is that a thing that still happens? The pass, punt, kick competitions?
Pass, punt, kick. Is that what they? Is it pass, punt, kick?
I don't know, because I've heard Jim Harbaugh talk about going to those as a kid or a younger guy, and they must have been a thing back in the day where people would go football. I'm not sure. I think now it's. I don't think they're a thing now.
I agree with this. I don't believe Mahomes is going to be able to recover in a shorter time frame. I think that he's going to take probably the full 7 months to probably get onto the field, and I think that I think he's going to need at least another 1 to 2 to get himself to a position where the mental is going to be able to allow him to play properly. It is having an injury that's like that. The physical, you often get back to some semblance of normalcy a little closer. But the mental is what really throws you off, because you know that you heard it the last time you were there. You know, you got like it. There's a whole thing that you got to overcome mentally in order to get over an injury.
So I was going to say, it's like I've never had a muscle tear. I've had broken bones, and then so my wife, she's had her
ligaments are painful.
Yeah, she's had her knee tore up, so she's still to this day like, don't touch that knee, like leave that knee alone. It's just mentally still there, screwed her up. And
ligament damage is painful. My shoulder is still not right. You know what I mean? That labrum tear, freaking, it still bothers me.
Like,
even though it was successfully done. So.
I was no professional athlete, but it's also, there was a lot of mental stuff going on, because, I broke my ankle, the tibia and fibia, when I was like in 8th grade or whatever. And then I played freshman football, and I was always paranoid, like, okay, they're like, if you break the skin, you're screwed. So, you had to keep it wrapped. So I actually got the hardwood taken out, but you're never like 100 with that. Like, even though they say it can come back stronger, you're never 100.
It's not just here. Yeah. Right.
So some of those guys who had multiple surgeries, like, and are still rocking and rolling in the NFL, hats off. And then on top of that, I was listening to a thing with LaDainian Tomlinson, the Chargers running back. He didn't have one surgery in his career.
No.
And I was like, that I didn't even know that. I was like pretty surprised by that.
Do we know how many other guys that have played to his level that have been surgery free? Because I got a feeling that's got to be like rare air.
Jerome Bettis, I don't think had any big surgeries, but he was a big dude. He was a great big dude, though. He was more of a fullback.
He was fun.
Marcus Allen for the Raiders, I don't think he had any knee surgeries or anything like that. I mean, you guys, Raiders Nation in the chat, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think Marcus Allen got hurt much. Bo Jackson didn't have any lower leg injuries. He got that weird tackle, and it was a hip thing, I do believe, and it ended up being
bicep surgery 2022.
I don't know. This is just something LT said. He was talking with
Walter Payton. Also, is another one. Walter Payton, I don't think had a lot of surgeries either. I mean, you're talking about the GOAT right there, in my opinion. Walter Payton's the GOAT.
Yeah, that's who LT looked up to, is Walter Payton. That's who he tried to emulate.
I mean, you look at that, then you look. I mean, Derrick Henry, that dude's not had any surgeries either that I know of. He's gotten hurt and had to sit games, but I don't think he's had surgeries. I mean, that'd be something you'd have to look for, but I mean, they're out there. I think it's a matter of knowing what not to do, I guess.
Well,
And I guess
they
my
played
thing
in a
with
different
Mahomes-
era. He had a fullback with him for a good portion of his career because when he got to the league, when LT got to the league, he came from a wide zone,
Yeah,
which both our teams are transitioning to this season.
sure.
But he came from a wide zone scheme in college at TCU, and when he came to the Chargers, they ran a gap scheme. So they brought him a fullback over to help him get going in that scheme.
Right. Well, I mean, and the
Henry
thing
had
is-
surgery in the 2021 season in November to repair a Jones fracture,
Hmm.
Oh,
which
that's
is a broken fifth metatarsal in his right foot.
yeah.
And despite concerns, he actually returned the same season in the divisional round to play.
Was he a Titan then? What year was that?
2021. He was a Titan.
Okay, no, he was a Raven, right?
2021?
No, he's probably a Titan still.
He was
Oh,
a Titan
still a
still.
Titan.
He was a Titan still.
Okay. I mean, the thing about it is with Mahomes, I think it's kind of a little bit weird for a quarterback. So I think it's his left knee, is it not? So it's not necessarily his plant foot.
I think it's his right knee.
Somebody tell me if it's left or right, because that's
Didn't
going to
it-
be a huge
I-
difference. as
he was
far as
running.
quarterback.
He was running to
I
their
saw the
sideline.
sleeve on his left knee on ESPN today.
Sorry, who?
Mahomes. I saw the sleeve on his left knee.
He was on ESPN today.
Yeah, they were just showing him throwing
Oh. You know the benefit for
Left
him.
knee.
Didn't he it is his
left
left.
knee. So
Wasn't
the
he
problem,
running to that?
well, that's the thing. Mahomes is a little bit different of a dude. So if it's his left knee, he's going to be planting on his right, and he's going to be landing with his left, right? So it's a little bit different rehab than what it would be if your plant foot is that guy. But the thing is, with Mahomes, he's so mobile, so it's going to change a lot. He may be able to play, but
he
ain't gonna
was
be-
very mobile. He kind of slowed down these last few seasons. He like put on
Right.
weight and stuff and
Right.
tried to stay in the pocket more. But yeah,
Well,
when
he
he first
also-
came by, he was super mobile.
He also got attacked every game. If the Chiefs don't do something about their offensive line, he's going to get attacked again.
Yeah.
And whoever starts for him, Gardner Minshew still there? Is he
No.
their starter?
No,
No, they just got Fields, I
What?
think.
Fields,
Was
Justin
it
Fields.
Justin Fields? So I think that's who's going to, like, if Mahomes isn't ready to rock, I think that's who kind of floats their team for a little bit.
I see that 3 to 4 weeks. If I
That's
have to
it.
predict.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that's not a bad idea because Fields is going to make defenses have to deal with him in the same way.
Yeah, and they've got really good coaching
So,
in Kansas City. They can make things work.
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. Ardell said he's old balls now, Henry. Old balls. Yep. That. Where did that come from? Billy Madison? No.
I have not looked at one
Adam-
running back.
Adam Sandler, the Adam Sandler movie where he has the kid. Old
Oh,
balls.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, general thoughts on the pro day was that you thought that the wide receivers, Mendoza did well by his fellow teammates, ultimately, is really what you took away from it. And that, if I'm hearing you right, you basically think that he didn't help or hurt his draft stock. And at that point there, your prediction is he's going number 1 overall to the Raiders, and that's that.
There's no question.
right? Yeah.
And anybody in Raider Nation can think negatively of it or positively of it, but I promise you that's happened. That is happening. Look at the Vegas odds of it not happening. Go ahead and put $10 on it. I'll bet you win 1,000 if it doesn't happen. Just saying. I haven't even looked at it, but that's be my guess. Marcus Banks, Ardell. I just want to say, Ardell, fellow veteran, thanks for what you do, brother. Good to see you.
So, looking ahead, Nav, I think it's fair to say that for all intents and purposes, we can effectively start your draft in round 2 and feel pretty comfortable with that particular, automatic pick, as it were, in round 1.
What pick do they have in round 2?
36.
Okay. So we're really close to the top of the
36, then 67.
So maybe let's throw over to DZ and talk a little bit about your team, where you're picking, and the one or two spots maybe that you think that the first round pick would be potentially not only within your regime's MO, because I think that's important. Like, your team has shown that they have a brand, I think is probably the right way to put it. Like, that they have a thing that they like to do.
Jim does, but we'll
Yes.
see. They're switching up because they've got a whole new offensive philosophy or ideology that they're heading into for this 26 season, and it's shown with some of the guys they've brought in. They're bringing in some guys that Mike's familiar with, and I think they're going to bring in some more guys. We talked about before the show in the second or third phase of free agency, some of those vets that will be supplemental pieces every team usually goes and grabs, and there's some guys out there. But they're picking at 22, and if like the white whale for me at 22, if he's there, which is seeming like it's a big if he's there, is Ione Vega, the guard from Penn State. That's my white whale. If he's there, you run that pick in. You stick and pick at 22. But if he's not there, then you start having a look, in my opinion, with only 5 picks this draft season, they're going to have to start looking for potential trade back partners. And one of the rumors is the Raiders could potentially be a trade back partner. The Raiders have 10 picks and would like to probably jump back into the first round and grab one of these higher end prospects. Who could it be? I don't know, but there's a lot of defensive guys, a lot of that's your second tier, right in that 22 range is your second tier of those high end edge prospects. There's some D tackles in there. Like one of my favorite guys is Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle.
Stop it.
He's been projected to the Chargers. So I kind of wrote a list of all the like the pundits, right? The media dudes. I get you. I get what you're saying, Richie. And so there's like 3 positions that they've had, like a lot of guys mock to the Chargers, especially at 22. Nobody's talking about a trade back except for this fan base and maybe a few others, which, like I said, if Ione Vega, or however you want to say his name, if he's not there, maybe Sadiq. That's another guy. If he's still there, I would probably stick and pick. But you got edge guys, TJ Parker, Cassius Howell, Kendrick Folk. There's also Mesidor I like as well. And then guard-wise, do I see them as first-round picks? But then there's Emmanuel Pregnon, Ione Vega, like I said, and then Caden Proctor, who he's a tackle, but he can play both positions, supposedly. The guy at Alabama, he looks like to be a beast. And then Caden McDonald, D tackle, who looks like could be a special prospect in the NFL. This guy looks like, especially if you got him paired with, some good D tackles with him or some good edges, looks like this kid could be the real deal. But yeah, I personally want more picks because I'm not a huge fan of this draft at all, to be honest with you guys. This free agency or this draft, meaning that there's not that many stars in this draft. And the Raiders, they're getting that star, that quarterback, right? And there's like literally only one. I mean, Ty Simpson, whatever. I've seen him get mocked to I think it was the Steelers or whoever. I was like, I don't even care. It's like a nothing burger or whatever.
16 at the Jets.
Something. Even that. Yeah. Who knows if the Jets even do that.
That's my call. 16 at the Jets.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. But this draft is so it's like I'm not a fan, but I'm also a fan because this draft has everything what my team I personally feel like needs. It's a really good trench draft, right? Like a lot of like day one starters, plug and play, but they're not going to be any special. I see with almost every one of these prospects that I'm looking at, huge asterisks next to their names. Like it's going to be like, so you look at a player and then there's an asterisk next to his name, in my opinion, because why? Some of these guys are 25, 26 years old coming out in this draft. You're like, geez Louise, dude, you're going to be 30 years old, for your next
by your rookie deal is over. Yeah.
So teams whose windows are open right now, like I'm looking at the Broncos, I'm looking at my team, I'm looking at, I don't even know if maybe the Chiefs, but I feel like those teams would be like, okay, we could take a shot on an older prospect because they're ready to contribute. We feel like day one, they're not going to be a project. But like say like the Raiders, I don't think they're going after guys like that. I don't think they want guys. They're going to be like, nah, we'll pass. We're building something here. We want to build with these players. I don't think they want an older edge guy. But
see, I'm actually reversed to where you are as that as a concept. So if I'm Nav's Raiders right now, and I'm getting my young quarterback of the future, which is happening in round 1.
Sure.
And then I have a guard prospect in round 2 as an example. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying you're going guard round 2, Nav. So just work with me here. So let's say you go guard round 2. And let's say that it's a position of need for the team because their offensive line had some struggles last year, and it's decided that the guy in the draft is better than the guy on the team. I would argue that the Raiders with a quarterback on a rookie deal and an older guard prospect who is plug and play right now, that they don't have to worry about those jitters on the field, and they think that they can just chuck him out there and that he can maybe calm the nerves of a younger Mendoza who is poised, smart, and intelligent, but might overthink things.
I was mostly just talking about on the defensive side. I didn't even really the offensive side of the ball. I was like,
even on the defensive side, though, I could totally see the Raiders saying, we got a young quarterback, an offense.
Big money positions, man. That's what I was more going at.
Yeah, but even then, if they have a lot of cap space this year, but they've spent a reasonable portion of it, I could absolutely see them going for an older, stable, steady prospect to just stabilize a room.
Yeah.
And then take a flyer in the later part of the draft where it's like maybe the guy's hurt, but he had a huge potential. So they take a flyer in the late rounds and see what happens. I could totally see the Raiders kind of doing like an extremes draft here where they go stability and great kind of in the early stages and then high risk flyers in the latter part of the draft, because they don't have expectations this year to make it to the Super Bowl. But if they hit on even one or two of these flyer prospects, like, man, that'll be touted as like one of their best drafts in a long time.
That's my issue. You kind of said something. I agree and disagree at the same time, but I don't really want to argue about it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Biggie he said this year's full of athletes, boomer or bust. Oh, you're probably showing it. Go ahead, show it, Richie. And I kind of agree. Now, I think I'll trust the team scouts more than my opinion or anybody else's opinion, right? We're fanalists. But that's kind of like my feeling about this. And what kind of scares me about the Chargers right now is I feel like they're kind of pigeonholed. When they weren't pigeonholed last year's draft, maybe 2 years ago they were, but they need a left guard, right? Like if they try to run what they have right now, like I could see them doing that because Harbaugh's a sicko and Mike McDaniel has had below average guard play anywhere he's been. And it doesn't make any sense to me why they're just so fond of just trash guards. But you need a guard. You need a third edge, because there's no guarantees. You need a lot of these guys. So for the Chargers with 5 picks, you've got to hit this draft. You've got to be really good. You better get at least 2 bona fide starters, in my opinion, and then some good depth pieces, so we'll see. But like other teams, like you can afford to swing and miss. Like I feel like the Raiders can afford to swing and miss with 10 picks. You know what I mean? What does he say? For example, they got this.
Yeah, if you look at the draft analysts, they have Price as the running back. They have him as a 3rd best running back in this year's draft.
Okay.
But when you look at his stats, Biggie's not wrong. He's got a drop rate or a fumble rate of 3%.
Oh,
so that means every 33 carries, the dude fumbles the ball.
I have not looked at one running back because
to me that doesn't sound good at all.
It's not. It's not actually. Like objectively, that's bad.
Mike Washington should be one that people should watch for.
Yeah. Are your guys' teams needing running backs? Like I could see the Raiders probably getting another guy. Richie, you say you are.
Not in the draft. Not in the draft.
Whatever Richie wants, his team's going to do the opposite just to piss him off and have him go some more.
Go, Richie. Go.
So here's the problem. Look at what happened with the Broncos when we got deep into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, they're just going to say it's quarterback. They're just going to.
Sure. Look, you can attempt to gaslight whatever, like me, all you want, and you can sit there. You can sit there and be like, "It's just the quarterback." It's like, okay, sure, my man. Like, But at the end of the day, the Broncos, if they had more aggressive trench play, as in like a stronger offensive line that could move guys backwards and force the play, we would have been in a better position against the Patriots when we played them. If we had a stronger defensive lineman that could throw dudes out the way in the interior of the defensive line, and by the way, the only guy that was really doing that pretty aggressively in the Patriots game, in truth, was JFM, and he's gone. And so, like, we need to just overall assess things honestly as a Denver Broncos fan base and simply look at it and saying, we have a first place schedule that we're coming into this season. This is not going to be the same caliber of teams that we faced throughout the entirety of last season. We have a litany of playoff teams that we are going up against as this year goes on. And the Broncos need to step up their game when it comes to the trench play if you want to compete with those teams and not get blown up.
Looking on paper, what you just said, like even us just looking at the opponents, I'm like, next season or this season, it's a brutal schedule. Like we don't know with exact weeks yet, but opponent-wise, it looks pretty brutal for all of us.
Yes, and so when I look at that and I'm assessing honestly, even Sean Payton made a very clear comment. J.K. Dobbins was our running game. He was the dude that stirred that drink for our team. Yeah. He was it. He was the guy that made the running game and the running back room work. Well,
absolutely.
I will agree. J.K. Dobbins, when he was on the field for us, was a top 3, top 5 running back, and it is inarguable based on his statistics.
Number one running back.
Well, I meant right
when
he played, he was like top tier. Totally agree. Problem is, dude can't stay healthy, and his body betrays him, and that's fine. But the thing is, the Broncos need to go into this season saying, we have like an elite running back that we just brought back, and we got him for like 3 to 5 million cheaper than the other guys that were top notch in the running back position in the free agency, which is fine. But we need another guy that's at a similar skill set and caliber in terms of size and speed combination that can learn from JK, that is younger and that can stay healthy.
I know his name.
Right. Right.
His name's Roman Hemby.
Well, there's a few dudes that are in this year's draft that we can pick early in the draft that I think will be suitable for a guy that might be able to do some stuff like that for us. I have a couple names that I'll reserve for once Diza has done his kind of listing of a few of his players and stuff. But who's in it for running backs? Like, I know most of Broncos country is putting their hands up to say we need running backs because Jaleel McLaughlin's shown that he can do some good stuff, but he's not it. He's not the guy.
He's the shifty dude.
He's the shifty dude, but he's nothing more than just a running back. He can't pass pro or anything like that because he's just not big enough to do so. And RJ Harvey, if we're going to be honest, constantly tried to break to the outside and did not do what he needed to do by going up the middle and running between the tackles. Yeah. I'm not convinced that he has it in him to course correct and then get himself running between the tackles properly. Well, and we also saw RJ Harvey lose a step this season. He did not have the same gusto and speed at the beginning of the season as he had the speed at the beginning of the season, didn't have the vision. He lost the speed and the vision as the season went on, and he got worn down as the season went on because the NFL is a much more aggressive game than he's used to at the college level. So can he get better? Can he improve? Sure he can. It's certainly possible. But the thing is, you don't go into the season hoping that the guy is absolutely going to do a thing. If you're a team that believes you're truly competing, you start adding more and more pieces to that room and make sure that you're solidified so that if something does go wrong, you have both a plan A, plan B, and plan C.
Right.
So
Raider Zach said it right there. No question. Jeremiah Love is it's not even close who the best running back in this class is. It's not even. I met his dad at the combine. His dad is like the same dude as him. A freaking great family, huge work ethic, freaking fast, brutal. And when he gets on the field, he's like his kid. He goes, we're really nice people, but when we step across the lines, it's different. We turn into assassins. We turn into a monster. I'm like, I don't doubt it. And then I watched Jeremiah Love at his size run a 4.36. With everything he's already done, with the elusiveness and the way to power over people, 4.36 at his size, he's a fullback size.
Who drafts him? I wonder where he goes. Is he going to Tennessee?
I think Tennessee's where he's projected. Was that 5th, 6th?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's their MO. They like that bell cow, do everything running back, and then build on the room that way. So DZ, question for you.
Yeah, man.
You mentioned a couple guys. By the way, I want you to just push McDonald out of your mind as we move forward with the show.
Yeah, please do that because we're taking him at 36.
Richie, I know what you're saying. I know what you're going at because I have a sick scenario in my head though. I have a feeling that Caleb Banks could fall into the second, and holy hell, like if I don't know if Denver would take a shot at him because he's a massive human, but I wouldn't doubt it.
He's my number 2 at that position for my team.
So there's like with him, there's giant asterisks, right? There's huge like pros and cons. But if it's like now, I know if the Chargers drafted him, I think they can make it work because one of the strengths is our D-line coach, Mike Elston. And so this Caden McDonald, you know how it's like been like since the season ended, it's like every week there's like a name associated with the team. So Caden McDonald's like that newer one.
Yeah.
So I've been looking into him a little bit more. It was like some more of these guys doing some mock stuff. I like him, but to be honest with you, he's not a need really right now because look, and I could be totally wrong because the Chargers, they met with him. That's why, right? Here we go. Also, I got to tell you guys this. There's an app or there's a site if you want to see who your team is met with. Here, stick to the model.com. Somebody in one of my chats, I think, I'm pretty sure stick to the model.com. Yeah, okay. Somebody in my chat, and it was really cool. It was kind of eye opening because I saw that
Hey, if any of my mods are in here, if you can stick that on my channel for anybody that's on my side of the house, please do so.
So what it does is it shows
about putting links, but
yeah, that's great. It shows like who your team has had meetings with and who's dealt with like prospect wise. And when I learned about this, the Chargers only met like 5 people, and when other teams have met like 20, because you get like your top 30 visits and stuff and combine and pro days and all that. Now they've met with a lot more guys recently, but yeah, dude, I could see Caden. I don't think Caden falls out of the first round, but
I think he will. Actually,
I think he will.
Yeah.
I just don't think enough teams have that need. And I honestly think there's somebody rated above him.
Who? Caleb?
Yes.
Caleb Banks?
Yes.
Yeah, Caleb Banks' issue is that he's just such a large human. He plays at such a high level, right? And if you get him against a good guard and center, they're just going to...
And he's been hurt like his entire college career.
So, and then another thing why I'm not having him as the Chargers, is the Chargers signed, which it still doesn't mean anything. They signed Dalvin Tomlinson. He's that big nose tackle that was with the Cardinals. He's been around the league. He's still old. So it's like, oh, do they double down? They could still draft him. But to be honest with you, I think this is edge guard, but they're telling you what they're doing at guard. Like my Chargers are. They're Cole Strange is going to be our right guard, guys. If you want to just go look him up. It's not sexy at all, but he is projected to be the right guard. So does that mean they're going to spend high-end capital on another guard at pick 22? Probably not. I see this as a defensive pick and be an edge.
Drop top. Don't worry. Not ever doing that again. I promise. I promise never doing it again. It was a bad thing.
Did you look at that site at all, Richie?
That was the dude that hacked me. There was a link in the chat, and a dude hacked me and got onto the stage without me knowing, and it was bad. I had to delete the entire show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I don't know. And there's another thing with my team is they still have the third most cap, and they're not doing anything with it. So there's a lot of people are like, do they have a plan or did they screw themselves? And nobody seems to know. And if you listen to Jim Harbaugh talk, it's like watching paint dry, in my opinion, right now. I'm kind of over it. It was fun for the first 2 years. Now I'm a little over it. But yeah, I don't know. If they get TJ Parker, Hal, Kendrick Falk, any of those guys, I'll be stoked. They need somebody when Mac leaves to kind of, take the reins.
Right. Well, I mean, to me, it's kind of like, there's a lot of free agents out there. I mean, there's Trayvon Diggs, there's freaking Von Miller. There's unrestricted free agents everywhere. But the thing about it is,
Von Miller is only going to accept one team.
Right. But
you go back to the Broncos?
Yep.
Right. But the point being is that teams will lose if they trade these folks or get rid of these folks out of free agency before June 1st. There's a lot of them out there that teams will take, even if it's minor cap hits, they're going to take them. I mean, they could be free agents, but it's a matter of what kind of free agent they are. So I think the three of us talked about it. June 1st is going to be big.
Yeah, especially for my team. My GM seems to be a dumpster diving GM, so he loves these cheap cast-offs.
June 1st is going to be a big deal. But for the Raiders, I think there's a couple players that if done now, you don't have to target another in the draft at all, except in the later rounds. Because we have 4 fourth-rounders, I do believe. So, I mean, if we think we need another running back, we can do that.
Great place to pick one. That's a great place to get one, man.
We can do that before. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But Najee Harris.
Yeah, I think he's making his round throughout the West Coast teams.
Medicals and stuff are being done. And he's actually, from what I understand today, he's still in the building.
Yeah, he wants to stay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. Sorry for.
No, I'm just saying that dude would be perfect. Takes a need off the table of having an additional running back. Don't have to worry about that in the draft.
Dude, okay? I wanted him to work out so much. Like the guy had no injuries for 4 years with Pittsburgh, and their division's tough as hell, right? Tough as nails. Yeah. Especially when he was playing. Comes to LA in the offseason, goes and sees family in Northern California, blows off, half his freaking face or loses an eye. Now, I don't know. I think his he's back to somewhat normal now.
Yeah.
And then he starts to get going once he starts playing because I don't think they played him right away, right? Like, and then boom, he has his Achilles fucking
blew his Achilles. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one in my chamber. He has his Achilles pop. So I'm like, but then I've seen the videos of him and like he's like doing the whole treadmill thing, and I'm like, man, what a great guy. So if the Raiders do get him, whoever takes a shot on him, why not, man?
Hell, he's been in the building for a few days. So my guess
he might have got lost because he couldn't see. You know what I mean? So
I mean, the thing about it is it's
you walked into the door on the way out.
You kind of take a need away in the draft with the Raiders if you get him, because you don't need that RB.
I mean, you want like 4 of these guys, right? You want you're gonna need some for camp preseason.
But then you can move to the right a little bit for more running backs. You know what I mean? You don't have to like scrimp for it, is what I'm trying to tell you. You don't have to go big on a running back.
It's kind of like this is Raiders news, but
Kalen Black's going to be available in the 3rd, I think, unless his pro day today makes a difference, because that dude got a laser beam thrown at him, and I was like, damn, I'm surprised he caught that football.
Najee's he already has the eye patch. That's funny. Yeah, I think Raider Zach's right. He's visiting because he's making his rounds. He's the first report for the Raiders was wrong. It's going to be a later date.
Yeah, he interviewed with them in person, and then he's coming back tomorrow.
Did the Raider fans see your guys' franchise valuation?
Yeah. 13 million or
billion.
11.1 billion.
Crazy.
So that's like second to, or it says the Rams were second, the Giants. So the Raiders are at 4th, but then they jumped up 2. Either way, that's incredible.
Dallas has got to be number 1, right?
Yeah, I think Dallas is, but that's incredible. I think that's just showing the people are buying into Vegas, like the Vegas as a whole kind of thing.
Yeah, I just wish the fans. The thing about it is, being in Vegas, we get more other fans than we get our own.
And I think the NFL loves that, to be honest with you.
The thing about it is, it's hard to have a home game. You can't call it a home game when less than half the fans are wearing the other jerseys.
Try playing in LA. Unless you're the Raiders, there's no home field in LA. Everybody's from somewhere else.
No,
Unless you're at a Dodgers game.
If you're the Rams, it's a home game.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But not the Chargers.
No, it's not. Go look up the numbers. Chargers have had more fans at their home games than the Rams had, and the Rams get taken over by almost everybody. So the Chargers did too, but if there's Chargers fans get attacked. No, I don't say it's more. It's who shows up to the games. More Charger fans go to the games than Rams fans.
Okay.
Then they've backed this up by numbers. Now, look, there's things where and I know that's hard for you guys to believe. Whatever. If you go ahead and dig into the numbers if you guys want. I'm not talking out of my ass here. Because us Charger fans get attacked, right? Because everybody, I admit it. You get taken over in LA. You get taken over in San Diego when you were there too. It's because everybody is from somewhere else, and they all go to those games. They're all like, how many people live in LA? Like 30 freaking million people or whatever it is. Nobody wants to go to Northern California. Nobody wants to go to that dump in Oakland. No offense, or go to freaking Santa Clara. No one wants to pay.
Hey,
no, you're missing the point.
DZ, the big thing is when Oakland, if you can only seat 50,000 fans, you're not gonna be able to do it there.
Nobody wanted to go to Oakland, man, except the Raiders fans.
But I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's a lot of fun going to the Coliseum for a football game.
Yeah, when you can black that thing out and you play on a baseball field.
Even if you're an opposing fan, it's not what people think. You know what I mean? Yeah, you get booed and give you some hard times, but people don't get beat up for just being another fan of another team. They get actually catered to. But when you can only put 50,000 people in a building in today's NFL, it doesn't work. You need 100,000 people stadium, and that's why it happened.
It's only college these days, it seems like, right?
Yeah. I mean, hell, Neyland Stadium here in Tennessee, 110,000 you can put in there.
Yeah.
Tennessee Volunteers football team.
I think, like, NFL-wise, like, maybe, I think that's probably the Cowboys probably have. I don't know. We'd have to look it up. Like, on average, the amount of fans, every game. Because I remember the Qualcomm back in the day. I think Qualcomm was like a 72,000 seater, and they had to just like they did at Oklahoma, up in Oakland, they had to, tarp off the tops or whatever for blackout rules and get more people in and whatever.
Yep. For the video. Otherwise it was reflecting for the video.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 70K for an NFL stadium, because then they could I think something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what it comes down to is this. I mean, to be honest with you, all three of our teams, we have glaring needs, but this draft doesn't really fit all of us. In the position we're in to draft them.
I disagree.
I think my team has glaring needs. I don't think Richie's team has glaring needs.
No. I agree that my team has glaring needs. I just disagree that our draft doesn't put us in a position to address them.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I agree that my team has glaring needs. Now,
so what are your needs? What's your main need in the draft?
Okay, there's what I believe that my team's glaring needs are, and there's what I know my team's upper management believes our glaring needs are. Which one are you looking for?
Yours.
Okay.
Well, see, I always try to talk it from a Chargers perspective. Richie talks like he's a fan of a whole nother team that plays in orange. That is some other team that plays in Denver and the alternate universe.
So, DZ, with that in mind, when was the last time the Broncos won the Super Bowl?
16? Is that right?
15.
15. Okay.
Well, it was the
11,
15-16 season. Yeah, 15-16 season. So,
Peyton.
Do we count that the Super Bowl year or the season year? We count the season year, right?
Well, 15,
season
16.
year. So it was the 15-16 season. So it was deemed the 2015 Super Bowl because they typically say that was the last time the Broncos won the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So, anyways, long story short is this. My point is the Denver Broncos, despite having had a good season last year, look, we did well. We made it to a good point. I'm going to kind of run this into what I saw from my head coach as well as my GM in the owners meeting. They had a couple of interviews there. I don't know if you guys saw your team's interviews as well, but I believe that the Broncos interviews were quite telling. So long and the short of it is this. The Broncos had 13 one-score games, and we won 11 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? That is absurd.
That you just swapped what the Chiefs did the previous year, I believe.
That's absurd. Right. Okay?
Exactly.
Now, Sean Payton, by the way, in his interview, cited the Chiefs as an example of how quickly things can flip with one-score games.
So he's freaked out.
Okay. So he is acutely aware of just how fickle the NFL is. Yeah. Sean Payton is no fool. He is a top upper tier head coach in the NFL. I don't think that's really disputed at this point, given how well he's done overall. So my point, and
can't stand him, but yeah,
I don't care if you can't stand him. He's just damn good. It's like he's just damn good. He is what it is. And so you look at what he does and you look at how he does it. He is clearly here. Let's put it this way. He is clearly the reason, right? He has demonstrated over his NFL career that he is the reason for the things working out properly on the teams that he's at. New Orleans has done virtually nothing since he left. Okay. Like they're a shell of the same organization. And the Denver Broncos were struggling before he came to us, and he immediately said, stop. And it's been uphill ever since.
Yeah.
Right. Like as in we've gotten better. He completely course corrected the franchise as a whole. Now,
and getting Elway out of there as well.
Well, Elway was a cancer, but that's just, that's again,
I've been saying because he's such a staple, as a Bronco.
I agree. I wish that John Elway could have gotten out of his own way and had someone else step in, have him stick around in name only and shut up.
Yeah.
Let the other guy fix things and then walk away so that he just kind of saved his name. But John Elway just couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
So anyways, it is what it is. Now, the long and the short of what I'm trying to get at here is my needs for my team are, I believe we need a running back. I believe that we need a guard to replace Ben Powers. I believe we need an interior rushing D lineman, Caden McDonald, as an example. That's the type of those are the positions that we need. We also need an additional depth guy, which I would be totally okay with my team taking a flyer on a raw guy who can potentially rush the passer from the interior that might need some coaching, because I believe that my team has enough depth on the defensive line and on the just generally speaking, that we can develop someone like that to have them work into a role. And I think that the Broncos are uniquely positioned in that regard with the overall strength of the defense to support someone like that.
Yeah.
So that's another piece there.
Dude, Richie, you said something like if you have strengths, right? Like on your defense, you could afford to take like a flyer on somebody. And when there was a prospect that boom went off in my head. Like, because he's been floated. The Chargers have looked at him, but it's also somebody that I could see go to the Broncos. It's that kid from the, I think it was the Naval Academy. He's a D tackle. He's a pass rushing D tackle. He's tiny. He's like 6'2", like 253 pounds or something. Like you're like, what? But he's been killing it in that division for 3 years straight, like top tier numbers for 3 years straight. And I'm like, well, if you inject him on a D line that's already pretty top
Really
caliber,
good. Yeah.
and he's got those moves and skills, you never know, man.
Yeah. So that's an example of a flyer that the Broncos could maybe take on a guy because we have the D-line depth already to manage someone like that. Now, the other one is tight end. We need now. I want to be very clear. The Broncos should not be going after a pure pass catcher at tight end.
So no Stowers then, probably.
So what the Broncos need
No,
is a
he can
guy.
block.
He can block. So Stowers would be a reasonable option.
Sadiq
Actually,
can't block.
Sadiq can't block. Stowers
Yeah.
can block and pass catch. Sadiq is just like basically a glorified
Yeah.
wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
And
He's
so
like this year's Bowers essentially in the draft.
exactly.
Oh no, no, Bowers blocks. That dude blocks vicious.
Bowers blocks now, and he's very good at it. Coming out in the combine, that was not what his strength was known as. He was known as the pass catcher. So you're correct.
No disrespect, Nav. No disrespect, brother.
No, Bowers can block now, but coming out of the draft and out of college, that was not what he was necessarily known for. He was
That's
known
not
as
what he was known
catcher.
for.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Delp. There's that guy Delp in there. There's some sneaky tight ends in this draft, man.
But this is what I'm saying. What my team's needs are. We need a well-rounded tight end that can basically completely round out the room.
You need a
Nate
good
Adkins.
tight end. Yeah.
Nate Adkins needs someone else that he can be paired with that is a well-rounded tight end to both pass block and pass catch. And then we need to be able to get Kroll out the building. We need eventually to get another guy that we can potentially have to replace Ingram. And actually, Caleb Lohner is a guy that most people forget that the Broncos drafted from the basketball in college in the 7th round of the NFL draft. He's a massive human being who has speed and athleticism. This is going to be his 2nd year in the NFL with that developmental. The Broncos are very good at developing players. That's something that I never thought I would ever say in my lifetime, to be honest.
O-line, big time.
And so the Broncos have shown the ability to develop players and look at a pipeline to kind of churn guys through and then up through the roster. The Broncos were horrible at that, by the way, for almost like 6 or 7 years. I'm
not doing that. You can do that.
Yeah, I got young kids, so it's baked into the cake. And so the Broncos had a horrible time developing players.
Quarterback.
Every position. It didn't matter.
No, you guys are still sound on a lot of spots. But your guys' whole thing after Peyton left was just the quarterback carousel debacle. It was like you guys had a touch of the Brownism. The Browns came in.
We had a QB carousel. That's true. But then we also had a hard time developing O linemen. We had a hard time developing inside linebackers. We always had decent corners and safeties, generally speaking, but not great.
Did the O-line coach come with Peyton?
The O-line coach changed, yes, with Peyton.
So he brought him in?
Yes.
So that's kind of changed you guys' O-line philosophy? Okay.
And then the other thing that we had was we had a strength and conditioning coach that had a reputation of being really good, but completely crapped the bed when he came to Denver before Sean Payton. Sean Payton fired the strength and conditioning coach and brought in another guy, and we've now been one of the healthiest teams in the NFL for like 3 seasons straight.
Dude, you and for some reason, the Broncos and the Chiefs in our division, and it just sucks they're in our division with the Chargers and Raiders.
Yeah.
I look at you guys' practice, because fantasy and teams, and it's like every week there's like, oh, there's 4 guys on there. Boo-hoo. Meanwhile, we've got a CVS receipt of like players that are dealing with everything and anything under the sun.
Right. The one thing that I would say that the Broncos have done extraordinarily well at is cornerback development.
Yeah.
Like corners. We have been real good at developing corners. And I mean, like, maybe the best in the league.
I would say the Broncos back end of the defense was probably the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I like you guys are I think the Broncos are 1 year farther in development than the Chargers are with like the regime change.
We're 1 year further ahead, that's right.
Yeah. I really like our secondary, Klinkstell. I like what he's been doing he's been done more with less. But yeah, you guys really good. I think the most valuable is your offensive line. That's like, if you can bring UDFAs and bring essentially
Palcho.
Yeah, Palcho, right?
You need depth at that O line. There's no question.
Yeah, huge. And you have to be able to develop depth. Like, yeah, they have to, like.
Well, here's an example: Frank Crum, Palcho, and we have another dude on the offensive line that's also in that depth churn. But see, our depth, and this is where it gets really crazy, is all the other teams in the NFL struggle to find depth at the tackle positions. Yeah. We found a ton of guys that have leveled up every year, and every one of them was a tackle. So Palcho is a natural right tackle.
He's a guard now, right?
He's a guard now, but his natural position is right tackle. Most of the division rivals don't understand that when he stepped in, when McGlinchey went out in the second year, when Palcho's second year, he stepped in for McGlinchey, and our run game went up. It actually got better when Palcho was at right tackle. Most people forget that when he was there. Palcho's knock on him, what he was a slight drop off when it came to pass pro. But Palcho's worked on that year over year and has gotten better. And that's now 2 years in. He now got himself a well-deserved raise and a contract re-up this offseason. He's worth every penny of whatever contract that is, because I actually think that what we're going to end up doing with him, in my opinion, is we're going to shift him over to right tackle for Mike McGlinchey, who's inevitably probably going to get hurt. Palcho will step in at right tackle, and we're going to see him as our right tackle of the future. Frank Crum is also another guy. You know him because he kind of looks like the Viking with the bleached blonde hair, who's just like an enormous human being. He steps in at the right spot as well, on the right tackle spot, in addition to Palcho. And between the two of them, I think that we're going to find our right tackle moving forward, which would potentially allow us to not draft a right tackle and bring in one of those two UDFAs. I know this is like a bad word on the show because Broncos always seem to find guys like this. That will be a starting right tackle at the NFL level for our team for a reasonable future. And the Broncos seem to find the right guys at the tackle spots in these swing tackle positions. That basically is a slight embarrassment of riches that the Broncos have. We have at least two, and then a third guy in the pipeline.
And I think they've been successful. The guys you've let go have been successful at elsewhere.
Every other place. Yeah. So that is an O-line coach that's been excellent. It is a developmental pipeline that the Broncos have got themselves in this churn, which is what you want as a team. You want that depth churn so that when a guy leaves, you're not sitting there saying, now what? But you asked me what the team needs are. Right tackle, guard, interior defensive lineman, tight end, and running back are like the top five. And then inside linebacker is another need, but it's number 6 on my list. Most other Broncos country is like, it's like their number 1. Like inside linebacker is their number 1. It's literally number 6 on my list.
That's like so low key. I said this like probably an hour before our show started. I was like, low key, I really like the linebackers and cornerbacks in this draft. I know I said I don't like this draft as a whole, but whatever, bear with me. But like me, I'm looking at my team and I'm like, we only have 5 picks. It's like almost a luxury to go ahead and grab some of these guys. I mean, I think cornerback, you always want to grab a cornerback every maybe not for your Broncos since you guys are really good at that. But I think, dude, looking at your team from an outsider looking in, like I think you guys kind of screwed yourself maybe a little bit, locking up all those tight ends like they did. Doesn't mean that you're still not going to be able to draft one. If you see a guy, it's really easy financially, right? They can figure things out. But I think they're like, wow, we really like these D linemen in this draft. And it's just like, we got that. If they don't do anything, it's like, boom, grab one, insert, here you go, play, start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like Caden McDonald, that's a name. Like if he does drop there, or Caleb Banks. I mean, there's way more guys. There's this the guy that Orange nickname. What is his name? Something Orange. He's a massive human. That is another dude I could see.
Yeah, so Nav, I'm going to throw over to you to talk about your Raiders in the draft. I just got to step away for 1 minute and just deal with something over here, and I'll be back. And then I'll talk about my Broncos and the very narrowed scope that I have within the first 3 rounds of the draft, because I have 1 pick. And I'll be right back.
Yep, that just means he has to go pee. So it just means he has to go pee. That's all.
Okay. 10-100.
So
you guys have 10 picks, right? 10 picks?
Yeah, 10 total currently.
And you're multiple in the 4th and 6th round?
4th, we have 3 fourths and a comp 4th as well. So that's going to depend on whatever trades that comp pick that we got. I didn't do the research to find out where the comp was from. But here's the thing. We have glaring needs, but a lot of the Raider Nation seems to think that we need to get all crazy about that offensive line. To be honest with you, with Linderbaum in there, now JPJ is free to roam. He could be a left guard or a right guard now. You know, and he's going to be healthy. And then, to be honest with you, DJ Glaze at right tackle, probably not going to be our starter. I would say Grant will take that job from him. Grant played way better than Glaze ever played.
And I mean, Glaze was just drafted just a few years ago out of Maryland, right?
Yeah, 3 years ago. Yep. So, I mean, you move Glaze to left guard and Grant to right tackle, and you have Colin Miller at left tackle. The offensive line is good. So
you don't think they want to go younger, just like have some guys?
I just don't think in the position we're in, we're not looking to go to a Super Bowl this year.
Right.
So the thing about it is, why would you grab a offensive lineman in the 2nd round? One of the quarterbacks, let's just say, for instance, that Mendoza is pick number 1. And I'm telling you what, if you take the Vegas odds and say he's not going to be the number 1 pick, and he's not, you're probably going to win some money, more than likely. But if you look at it in a perspective of that, the best so the number 1 thing that is the quarterback's best friend is a good offensive line that can protect them.
Yeah.
The second thing is a running game. And the third thing is a good defense that can stop.
I was going to throw in, I mean, yes, I was going to throw in like a safety blanket. And I think Bowers is probably going to be his safety blanket.
Well, I mean, it's not just Bowers. What Richie really needs is Mike Mayer. That's what he needs.
Yep.
Dude, we've had Charger podcasts floating him around thinking that he could be a potential like cut or a trade from the Raiders.
No, I don't see that happen because he's not going to be expensive. He doesn't hurt the cap.
McDaniel's offense requires, it's not even a night, it requires someone like Mayer.
Right.
Well, they have Kohler. They brought in Kohler,
and that's where, when he was talking about a tight end in the draft, I think it was Big E that talked about it. And I'm telling you, Raritan from Notre Dame is Mike Mayer. He's kind of the same dude. And you can get him in the 5th.
We just got to remember, Navman wears Fighting Irish underwear at all times.
No. That's Kenna. I'm just telling you.
You guys are the fight. I'm wearing a Fighting
no,
Friar
no.
shirt. It's almost similar, but
Yeah, but trust me, it's two different styles of stuff between me and Kenna. Now, love the dude, don't get me wrong, but my thing with us is, to be honest with you, I think the defense needs to be the primary objective.
yeah, I can see that.
I
So-
agree.
I don't really care if there's a backup quarterback other than AOC. I don't care. We're not trying to go to a Super Bowl. We're trying to build a football team, and we're trying not to kill our rookie quarterback. Okay? So, to be honest with you, I think our biggest need after Mendoza will be a defensive tackle. A big defensive tackle that will serve as what you call a nose tackle, because it'll be a 3-4 defense. You got to have that guy. Great big body dude that can push and go upfield. That's what you got to have, right? And that's McDonald. If he is there at 36, I think we're taking. The next thing that is a need is a nickel corner that is straight up nickel corner. We re-signed Stokes, which can be our cornerback one, wide corner one, because he was one of the best in the NFL last year. Nobody beat him because they wouldn't even go his direction. And we got him back. So I think the next thought at 67 would be in that realm where we need a nickel corner, somebody in that aspect. Wide receiver, I get it. People are saying that for offense. We can do that in the later rounds. We got in free agency a dude, Naylor, which has been behind Addison and been behind Justin Jefferson and the Vikings.
Dude, I just heard some like analysts like crap on that, or I saw some post where they crapped on the Naylor, and I'm like, what? Like, to me, that's like one of my favorite pickups by the Raiders this offseason was getting him.
No,
whatever.
Wait, Rat, look, I just said the same thing in two sentences that you just said to dispute me. A nickel corner and a free safety, kind of the same thing in a 3-4. Kind of the same thing. So just stick with me here. But those are our needs, really, in the draft. Let's remember, we're not trying to win a Super Bowl next year. We don't need to sell the farm on things.
Is Blaine? Yeah, is Blaine just? Thanks, Blaine.
It's just that Raider Nation, everybody in here can tell you, the more you thrive on expectation, the more you're going to be disappointed. So the thing about it is,
ask the Eagles.
Yes. Or ask the Jets.
Yeah,
Jets
exactly.
Even worse. So what I'm trying to say is this. We have the staff now that are making great decisions. We have a scouting crew that is next level. We have our GM is out of this world good.
I've liked what he said so far. I've liked what Spytek has said.
He's just that good. He's learned from the best, dude. I mean, and you know what? Tom Brady don't care about that dude. He's a minority owner. If he wants to help train a rookie quarterback, great. Please do that. But be a minority owner, like really minority, like 0.5% of the business. It's not even a lot. Just be careful on expectation. Just need to fill some needs, see what happens. Boom. It's a G fam. Look, bro, don't make me Instagram like bomb you on this. God Family Raiders for Life's one of my good buddies. He likes to just like pop on there and just pop off on me. But he's good people. Hey, I just want to shout out some folks real quick. And it's not just Raider fans either. Big E Bronco, can't remember your first name, my bad. Big Raz is actually Ron Raspberry. Yep, called you out. Blaine Craig, always around when I'm around. Love it. Let's see. Drop Top Blazer, yep, he was around for the drama. And then, of course, G-Fam is always around for me, man. Facts. It's facts. So, but the thing about it is, for us, it's going to be best player available after we get that quarterback. Now, are next year's quarterbacks better? A lot of people are saying that. We don't know. We don't know. We have the first pick in the draft this year. Who's the best quarterback this year? And in between the ears, size, strength, everything he's accomplished at Indiana University. How is that not what you do? I don't get the thought process of let's trade back. Okay, so what are we going to get next year? Arch Manning? Just because his last name's Manning, he hasn't done anything. I mean, it's that kind of thought process that drives me nuts. This dude won a Heisman, won the freaking national championship, on his back several games at the very last play of the game, and it was on him.
I'm not going to date you. I'm not going to date you, Blaine, but I appreciate it.
But you understand what I mean?
I'm just messing with you.
Hey, it's probably the only Charger fan he knows.
Oh, drums.
I'm just saying. But the thing about it is, you can trash it. You can do whatever you want. As a Raider fan, you can do whatever you want. But the thing about it is, we're not going to a Super Bowl in the near future. If we,
I don't know. I mean, look, Super Bowl. Look, these turnarounds in modern NFL don't take a decade like they did back in the day.
Right. But but everything aligns, everything's great, and we've worked that direction. Great. But what happened to the Commanders when they got Jaden Daniels? They went to the NFC Championship, got beat, and you haven't seen shit from them since.
They fell apart health-wise, all kinds of stuff.
It is what it is. I mean, it's so you can't just go and make assumptions at this point.
Look, you guys are building up for that. Like somebody put it out there, that Super Bowl is going to be in Vegas probably in 29. So that's like, hey, if you're shooting for anything, you're shooting for that year to be at home in the Super Bowl. Hopefully
I live that long.
It's only in a few years, Nav. Holy crap, buddy. Yeah. Wait, Super Bowl's at SoFi. Yep, this year. I think it's all.
It's just I'm just talking the truth. I don't think this regime is trying to win a Super Bowl next year. I think if everything's going right and a lot of wins are getting piled up and things like that happen, then maybe they will make a push. But I don't think they're going to intend to be contenders right off the get-go. They're going to intend to build young. Richie said it best. We're not going to draft any of these 25-year-old players.
No, I said the reverse.
I think we're going to do that.
He said on the line you guys wouldn't.
What's that?
No, I actually thought that the Raiders are going to be in a unique position where I think that the Raiders could very well, given the fact that over the next 5 years, you're going to have a quarterback on a rookie deal.
Yes.
That if you really like a guy and believe that he's going to fit your system, because again, it's about system fit, not necessarily what everyone else thinks.
Right.
I could absolutely see you drafting a 25-year-old dude in the trench positions. Okay.
Yeah.
Very clear. Trench
Yeah.
positions, because those guys, you want dudes that can potentially come in and plug and play. And your team is young enough where you're going to want a bunch of young dudes. And then sprinkled throughout, you want that like level-headed, like calm down mentality
Right.
mixed into the locker room. So that's where I was going with your
Right.
team. I'm not saying that all of your dudes are going to be old. I'm saying that like you could certainly handle a couple guys that are older, mature, and know what they're doing.
Well, and that's the other thing. So in 2 years, here's the problem we're going to have. Brock Bowers will have to be re-signed. Okay. Genty will be a year away from having to do something. Mike Mayer may be a lesson in futility at that point, where he may end up traded instead of re-signed again. Okay, so the thing about it is, I get what everybody's saying. So the thing about it is, all these folks in the next 5 years may not be the same folks we're talking about still.
Right.
Yep.
So it's, and Colton Miller, dude's not getting any younger, and he's not.
But neither is Max Crosby. And when you keep saying like, hey, we're not trying to win a Super Bowl next year, I think everybody gets that. But look at the 27 season. Like, Max is like, hey, I'm here to win. So
look, well, and I'm telling you, I think the 27 season is what the aim's at.
Like, like we were saying, like, it doesn't take long if you've got the money, the cap, the picks.
Well, here's what pisses me off about last year. It was a wasted year. Now, did we get the number 1 overall pick? Yes, we did. But we didn't play some of these dynamic players enough to get an opportunity to see them.
I agree with you're saying.
All these dudes. Lucky Tossie is a freaking monster, this guy. He could play any position you want to put him, to be honest with you.
And with the talks, with the way the NFL wants to go, with taking away another preseason and adding another game, so going to an 18 game or week season.
Did you see what they're going to make the Rams and Niners do?
Well, because the Niners take over SoFi.
Oh no! Did you see what they're going to make them do?
Go to Australia, right?
They're going to Australia.
Yeah.
16-hour flight. I can tell you, it's a 16-hour flight to Australia from the West Coast.
Screw all that, but yeah.
16-hour flight. You get there, you deal with that jet lag, because it's almost 12 hours difference between the two countries, right? So you get there, you have 3 days to prepare for a football game. You play a football game at 10 o'clock in the morning their time, which makes that like 8 o'clock our time or something at the particular time. So then they want them to get on a plane, again, 16 hours back to the West Coast, and prepare to play on Sunday the following week.
And they and Mike Shanahan, or not Mike, but Shanahan,
Kyle lost his crap about that.
I think he even said, like, I want us to go, then I want our game to be in Mexico City. Like, I want the Rams. Because he's also saying, like, they're afraid of.
They have 2 international games.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to, I don't know. I like it. I like the beef, you know what I mean? Like, not giving the Rams the layup to the Super Bowl, which I think that's everybody's favorite going into this year.
I mean, it should be. I mean, hell, they stole the Chiefs' entire secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs are screwed this year. What are they going to do with
that? Got good capital.
McDuffie gone. Oh, who was the other one on the other side? They got that corner too.
What the heck is that other guy's name? It's McDuffie.
Rams don't care about draft picks, man. They're just trying to win a Super Bowl today.
Dude, they're even like in talks in the trade talks for another wide receiver. And I'm like,
I mean, that's crazy. Well, Nakua. So I think you told me Nakua Puka Nakua's got a issue he's going in treatment for or something.
Yeah, he's going. That just came out before the show. He's going to rehab. I mean, the dude's. I don't know. I know nothing. I just have heard him talk, and he's a young kid, and
it's a mental rehab thing, though. It isn't like a substance thing or something.
Sure, I have no clue.
I have no idea. But I mean,
he's a great athlete. I'll say that he's a fantastic wide receiver.
Dude does not miss a football when it's thrown to him.
No, dude's great, man. He's a stud. But yeah.
But I mean, the thing about it is the entire NFL's in a really crazy whirlwind with all the international stuff because it changes the dynamic of your next game.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. They're like even saying that I think they're changing the definition of short weeks as well. Like if you have a game on is it Thursday or Friday? They're not.
If you have a Thursday game, you will not play again till the following Sunday.
Or they're saying that it's not a short week or something. I don't know. It's
but they didn't say that if you play on Sunday, you won't play on Thursday. So that was my rebuttal on that. I'm like, wait, so if you play on Thursday, they said you will miss the following Sunday and won't play till the next Sunday, but that doesn't mean that you don't play on the following Thursday after that.
What I was kind of getting at is, you were talking about like the Raiders. You were like, it was a wasted year. There's a lot of prospects we didn't get to see. And, the time you see these guys mostly is preseason, right? And we all remember, we're old enough to remember it used to be 4 weeks long. They cut it down to 3, which I think 3 is fine, right? Like, makes sense. The old way they used to do it was, the 4th game would be absolutely all backups, right? Like the 3rd game was the starters would play almost like a half or something. Well, now it's like it's going to get to the point where there's 2 games, and then like, do they even do preseason? It's getting to that way. The NFL just wants the season to be like
they have to do preseason. I mean, at the end of the day, at some point, one of 2 things has to happen, right? Either the NFL is going to go kind of full 2-tier, where they're going to actually support a secondary league, like in its entirety, and have it become a junior league, etc. Or they're going to have to stick to at minimum 2 preseason games. And the other thing, what's going to matter really pretty aggressively is, those scrimmage games that each teams like to do now in terms of the preseason stuff.
I was going to say that.
That needs to go away.
No, those are going to becoming like, that's going to become
so valuable.
The valuable piece.
The most valuable thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any last year. They got canceled.
I think it needs to go away. All of that needs to go away.
Okay.
Why do you do that? Is my thing.
Unless you do that to have an internal without prying eyes outside, getting your guys ready to go for the upcoming season, and you're able to basically get a preseason game without having to play a preseason game, and eliminate media presence at those games for your team. So there's like a handful of benefits actually in running those games. And I kind of agree with DZ. I actually think that those are going to be the mystery games that we will know about, but not really know about. And you're going to get the buzz surrounding who are you playing in that like secret practice. And that's going to be like
so I'm pretty sure the Chargers last year, their scrimmage games got canceled somehow. We were dealing with injuries. That was like when Slater went down.
Yes.
And then we were supposed to have one against like the Saints or the Rams or somebody. And I was like super bummed.
Well, it makes sense with the Rams. You're in the same stadium.
Right. But we would do it every year before this regime came in. We always had like with the Saints. We'd always do it with the Saints, and then the Cowboys, because the Cowboys also play up the road up in Central Cal or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I like them because it's more controlled. Look, I guess as a fan, you could be like, I don't know if I like it so much, but I like it from a coaching standpoint because you could be like, hey, we're going to just play 50 yards. That's all this game's going to be. And it's going to be scenarios. It's going to be, and then that's how they run it. And they're going to be like, say the Rams are going to be like, hey, we're going to try to run just this defense. And this team's going to run, we're going to run this offense and let's see what happens.
Don't get me wrong. I don't disagree with you guys, but I think there's more value if you take a couple more weeks where it's OTAs and make it mandatory, and you actually have 2 weeks of mandatory practice.
That's the but the players got rid of that. The players, the NFLPA has gotten soft, and they have taken away everything that benefited them in the long run, in my opinion. Like
I think the off-season work is more important than scrimmages. To be honest with you,
I think they're both valuable.
You get a better look at it that way. You get a better look at both sides of your offense and defense in preseason work.
I just remember, I remember preseason, we would be so hungry for preseason, right? Yes, it's finally here. But then by game 2 or 3 years, all right, this needs to be done. We're over this.
Right. You're like, finally, game 4, the starters are actually playing. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what the preseason was. The starters actually played
No. Game 3, 3 was the starters for the first half.
I'm just saying back before that. Game 4, the starters got to come in and maybe had one drive, and they were gone.
They put their street clothes on.
To me, it makes it preseason makes it worthless. What I would prefer is an extra couple weeks of preseason work, and allow those scrimmages possibly instead of even having the preseason games. Why?
It's not a form of revenue for the league.
It is, and that's the big part. But I mean, I think there's more value added to that aspect than there is to a preseason game.
And then I know that we're kind of running long in the show, but another.
I need to finish off the Broncos quick before we close it out, though.
All right, 2 seconds. We're gonna have to bring back in Ref Guru for next week or something.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I agree. So, you asked me a question about what I had needs for my Broncos, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Nav, what I think and what my team thinks, as DZ has aptly pointed out, are two different things. I think that when you look at how my team has lost when we've made it to certain points of the season, you see what my needs are showing up as the glaring issues. So I kind of feel some vindication in that regard, but that's neither here nor there. Now, Sean Payton and the other ownership for the Broncos had a lot to say and a lot not to say. And by not saying things, they also had a lot to say, if that makes sense. So when you look at what came out of the owners meeting and the interviews that the Broncos had, the big takeaway was, we know we're not going to win one-score games in the frequency that we did last season. So we need to not be down by one score in as many games this season. That was the big kind of 30,000 foot view that I took away from the Broncos and our meeting and our discussions. Now,
and a lot of people believe that. I mean, It's like you can only do that so often.
Yeah. I mean, there's some luck involved when you win that many one-score games. So you need to take the win and then improve upon that so that you don't put yourself in that position again the following year. The Chiefs didn't do anything about that, and they found themselves in quite the hole this particular year. Now, fast forward to what I believe my Broncos are going to do. We brought in Waddle.
Yep.
Waddle is a dynamic wide receiver. He's got speed. He's got a very dynamic route tree. But more importantly, he is very precise in how he runs his routes and in the way in which he runs his routes, which is going to allow for a wide receiver that, frankly, the Broncos don't have on their team. And that is a wide receiver with a combination of speed and who is a tactician in how he runs routes. Okay, that's a very important piece on the for the Denver Broncos wide receiver room. Now, the Broncos severely struggled in the running game this year once we lost J.K. Dobbins. So, if I am going to sort out and read between the lines, I believe my Broncos are going to be looking for one of two types of players in the first round in this year's NFL draft.
Where are you guys at? 22?
Sorry. In the second round, rather, is our first round pick, air quote, because we traded away our first round pick for Waddle. So,
got it.
So I believe that my Denver Broncos are going to target one of two position groups depending on who's there in the NFL draft this year. I believe that in our second round pick, we're going to pick either on the offensive side of the ball, we're either going to pick a running back or a dark horse wide receiver. Now, I think that the only position that will supersede both of those positional groups in the second round for my team is going to be if like a Caden McDonald slips to where we're at in the second round, and then the Broncos are going to run up that draft pick so quick to the front that we're going to draft someone like that because he's going to be a difference maker in the interior defensive line. Right. And I think that someone like that will basically be our second round pick. Now, assuming that someone like him is not there in the second round when we pick, just assuming, I believe that the Broncos are going to look at Katron Allen out of Penn.
Yeah.
Mike Washington, if he's there, and Nicholas Singleton, if they're there, in the second round of this year's NFL draft at the running back position between those three players.
I just did a mock draft with the Broncos, like a really fast one. Mm-hmm. And Mike Washington went to the Chargers at 55. Makes zero sense to me. Zero sense.
So the reason why I have those three guys there is because they all ran good 40s. They all had good 3-cone drills. They all pass pro. They're all at around 6 foot, 6'1", 5'11" in that range, and they can all run the football and catch. Sean Payton's offense requires that you can kind of both pass pro and catch the ball if you actually want to do well in this offense.
Yes.
And Davis Webb, to be clear, is not going to be making wholesale changes to Sean Payton's offense. It's just not going to happen. Davis Webb is going to add a couple plays that are of his own making into Sean Payton's offense. Davis Webb is really just going to simply call the order of plays in this offense, and that is going to be the difference between Sean Payton and Davis Webb. Now, those are the running backs, and I firmly believe that the running back is probably going to be our target in round 2. However, if the right running back we believe will be there in round 4, or even if we plan to maybe trade back up into round 3 with some packaging of picks or whatever, or if on the off chance we plan to
Richie, look at what you're saying is making sense, but I'm like, I'm like just playing around. You got Caleb Banks, Oscar Delp, or Skylar Bell, all right there. That would be your first pick in this draft for the Broncos.
Huh.
So you got the tight end Oscar from Georgia, who a lot of people really like, who think he's going to be a better in the NFL. Caleb Banks, like that's Caden McDonald, but could be freaky. And then you have Skylar Bell, UConn wide receiver. I think his 40, real quick.
Still UConn though.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
I'm just trying to guess 40. Oh, he's a 4-4 guy. Okay.
yeah. So so I'm going to finish off where I'm at with that. I'm not sure that the Broncos are going to want to go tight end in the second round. I'm not sure if we're going to want to aim for a guy that high at the tight end position, unless it's the other guy.
So I got you guys Caleb Banks, and then with your next pick, it's Katron Allen, the running back from Penn State.
Look, I would not be upset if that's the order in which we get them. So Katron Allen is actually one of my favorite running backs in this draft. For my Denver Broncos, he's one of my favorites because I think he's got a great
popped up
mix.
on this draft that I'm doing. That's pretty freaking dude.
So either way, those are some guys. But I have another dark horse that could come up for my Broncos. Now, whether or not that's at the second round pick or something else, Casey Concepcion, if you want to go all French
on you. There you go. You got it.
Yeah. So I could actually say it properly because I'm Canadian. Blaine, I am Canadian, so I'm probably like your fifth favorite Broncos fan now, and that's fair enough. But it is what it is. So when you look at wide receivers and versatility and where the Broncos might be willing to take a flyer, the Broncos are going to want to focus heavily on the offensive side of the ball, in my opinion, because I believe that they see that as a weak spot on the team. So tight end, running back, and wide receiver to bolster a combination of size and speed. Depending on which position, you can kind of ebb and flow which one is the most important.
I just got you Eli Raritan as your 111 pick at tight end, the Notre Dame.
That is fourth round, right?
Yeah. So Caleb
That's
Banks.
Where I have him projected fourth round.
Caleb Banks, Katron Allen, and Eli Raritan. I just did all Broncos. I'd be pissed. I would be pissed if you guys got this.
You need to look up.
So I would not be upset if that's the draft that we get.
Richie, you need to look up Eli Raritan, though.
No, I know who he is, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But my point is that we need an immediate guy at our second round pick that can immediately make a difference.
Well, that for you guys, it's got to be a running back.
It needs to be a running back. That's my point. That to me, the running back is that second round pick. Now, I do agree with DZ on this one though. If Banks is there,
that's tough to do.
It's hard. It's tough to turn away from, right? And if McDonald is there, that's even tougher to turn away.
They had the Chargers in that mock I did. They had the Chargers grabbing K. McDonald in the first round.
But that's my point, right? Is that if these guys are there because of the way that the draft board kind of ebbs and flows, I think the Broncos would have a hard time turning away an interior defensive lineman that can also rush the passer, because those players, when you look at their total value to the team, like overall total value to the team, if they end up hitting on that guy in the second round, the cost differential between what you have to pay a guy in free agency to hitting on a guy in the draft and having him start and play and excel right away, you're talking a price differential of like $18 to $19 million.
Yeah, he'd be an immediate starter.
So no, but that's my point in terms of price differential. So it's a no-brainer if one of those interior D linemen that you think can start right away is there, you're gonna get that guy for sure because the value is there and it's undeniable.
Hey, DZ, where'd you have Mike Washington in the third?
That they had him going to the Chargers at pick 55. Like I'm like, that would be something. That would be a Harbaugh thing, which would piss me off because that means, that they're not having even though they re-signed Vidal and then they brought over Keaton Mitchell, and then they have Omari Hampton, and then you're bringing in another guy. I'm like, I don't know, man. This is
Mike Washington's a freaking beast, though.
I'm sure he is. I'm like, dude, we have other things that we need to address. But I'm
mean,
doing a fun mock.
It's a Smith. It's a
I'm-
Smith.
Yeah,
Doesn't have that flashy name.
I'm doing a quick mock while you guys are talking for the Raiders, and your guys' second pick, Caden McDonald is right there, and I'm like, why would you pass him up?
No,
even if
never
Basantis, it's like I would either grab him, Chase Basantis, or Denzel Boston, or the Toledo safety, who would be killer for the Raiders.
That would be that free safety that we need. Right there.
So overall, just to kind of close out my Broncos side, my head coaches, the upper management have kind of, I'm not going to say they've tipped their hand, but they have certainly made it abundantly clear that they are well aware that they cannot run it back with just the offensive players that we have right now on the team. And so I firmly believe that it's going to be one of three position groups with our second round draft pick. It's going to be tight end, running back, or it's going to be someone like Casey Concepcion, who is injured, like he's coming off an injury, and as a result of that could slide back to where we're at in the second, just because teams don't want to risk or they don't want to accept a guy who can't play right away. And I think the Broncos are in a somewhat unique position from a talent perspective that they could absorb someone like that on their roster to have that as a long-term benefit. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with the overall draft. So I think for my Denver Broncos, I think that in the second round we are going to go after a running back, number one. Only exception to that as the number one is if like top tier interior defensive lineman is there, and then that inverts. IDL then becomes the number one. And then a flyer at wide receiver or a top tier wide receiver would then also fit into the second round pick for my Denver Broncos as well.
Ooh.
And a tight end would be another thing.
Is that confirmed, Biggie?
Yes, that's his thing. He's an up-tempo guy.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting because that's going to really stress defenses for home games.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. And then sorry, just one other quick thing here. The Broncos are uniquely positioned a little bit this year in the fact that Riley Moss, it's likely that the Broncos aren't going to have the cap in order to bring him in as a long-term fit for the team.
Your guys' cap is kind of skewed. There's something I was going to send you, but go ahead.
I'm going to franchise tag him.
Well, we may well do something like that, but the problem is that I don't think we're going to have the cap in order to keep him long-term, because I believe that our goal ultimately is to try to bring in McMillan as the long-term option. We're going to want McMillan to sign to a long-term deal to solidify the nickel cornerback, which is then going to have us use Jade Barron as the replacement outside corner to replace Riley Moss, which would then potentially open us up for a draft day trade for Riley Moss for, say, this is my prediction, just for what it's worth. I'm going to say a third-round draft pick to backfill the third-round draft pick we gave up to get Waddle. And my prediction is we're going to swap for another team's 5th or 6th, and we're going to swap one of our 7ths. So it's going to be either a 7th for a 5th or a 7th for a 6th. And that's going to be the trade for Riley Moss. So we get 2 picks, and then they get Moss. So we get their 3rd, and we get a pick swap as a secondary pick for our team, and then the other team gets Riley Moss. And that's what I predict for the team.
Comp pick from the other team. Get yours whenever it is.
Well, I think it'll be a 5th round pick as a swap for our 7th, or a 6th round pick as a swap for our 7th in addition to their 3rd, and then they get
Right.
Moss. So that's what
Yeah.
my prediction is overall. And
Gotcha.
and
That's
and, and,
that's a hot take, bro. That's a
and
hot take.
well, because I just don't see us having the cap rather, to pay another
I sent you
corner.
something on X, by the way, about your money, your future money.
Yeah. I just don't think we're going to have the cap in order to maintain Moss on the roster, especially given the fact that it's in our interest to extend Bo Nix sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So
I could see the Broncos, and I could see my Chargers trying to offload QJ somehow and try to get some stuff like that.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it, and I think that Moss is the perfect guy to offload in the draft. So like imagine this, right? You're a team and you need a corner, and all the other guys are off the board, and you got a dude that's right now ranked within the top 5 to top 10 in the NFL right now today as a starter, that you only need to give up a 3rd round draft pick for. You're going to say, can I do that today and every day thereafter, please? That works for me. Right?
But then you're
yes,
going to have to
please.
restructure him, right? So
Well, no, they're not. They're not.
He's on his
They're going to
contract.
He's on his rookie deal right now.
Okay.
And this is the last year of his rookie deal. So they can even just trade the 3rd round draft pick and say, if he works out for us, great. So I could see him going to a team that is close to being a contender.
Yeah.
And needs a corner. And that would be a perfect trade piece where we would say, well, you're a contender. You're going to be likely competing with us as well. So we're going to need that 5th round pick swap as well as the 3rd. And you can take Moss in a 7th. How's that? And I could see them doing it too. Like there's a handful of teams that you could totally see making that trade for sure.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how things move around.
Like, here's an example. I don't know what the Rams are like right now, but the Rams had a problem with their secondary. I would argue that Riley Moss, when you look at his actual statistics, was better in large part than some of the guys that the Chiefs had on their secondary that the Rams traded for. I could also point to some other teams in the NFL who are close but not quite there. They could easily say, well, here, what about Washington? The Commanders. They made a bunch of moves this offseason to try to get themselves in position where they can capitalize on a rookie deal. Why wouldn't they be a perfect potential option for Riley Moss to go to?
There's a lot of teams.
Yeah, but my point is, he's basically going to be traded for a 3rd and maybe a little extra. So, like the Commanders make perfect sense for someone like that. I'm just using that as an example, and so I could see something like that taking place. Is my point. That's my point, and I just don't believe that the Denver Broncos have the cap space available to us to sign him back. So why not? Like why not get something for him while it makes sense? Because we are contending now. We have Jahdae Barron already waiting in the wings, and we have
there's a devil's advocate though, but they don't need to get rid of him right now. They could still, because you guys were this close. You know what I mean? They're like, we're going to double down and try to run it back. You know what I mean?
Entirely possible, although I would also argue back on that Riley Moss has a reputation that I think is going to be difficult to overcome so long as he's with the Broncos. And because he was picked on so thoroughly because Pat Surtain is on the other side of the field, I think the Broncos are better suited to trade him for what they can, better bolster and get better players on the team to like fill out the offensive side of the roster so that we're not wholly and solely reliant on the defense, and allow the depth on the roster to raise their level of play so that we can continue the tradition that the Broncos secondary has had over the last 3 to 5 years of being arguably one of, if not the league's best just generally speaking.
Secondary, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
Defenses too.
yeah, exactly. So I think we have Turner Yell, we have Jade Barron, we have Pat Surtain, we have Jaquan McMillan. So we have 4 guys right there in the cornerback secondary room that are poised and ready to go right now today.
Well, he was getting picked on because he was from the Caucasus Mountains region.
Yes. Well, if you actually look at the penalties that were called against him, arguably, if we're going to be perfectly honest and blunt, they were not really called on most other cornerbacks in the NFL.
He might have just got highlighted. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that he did
For
some
one
dumb
reason or another.
See, Biggie, the one thing that I think is missing, though, and this is an important piece of the puzzle here, Riley Moss did some really stupid things when he was a rookie. And I mean objectively stupid things as a rookie. And I think that gained him or garnered him a reputation with the Denver Broncos, which then had him overly scrutinized every year thereafter.
And if you think that's bad, just wait. If the NFL doesn't figure this out with the refs, it's going to be way worse.
Dude,
yes,
I do not want to think about that.
We're talking about a 4% difference in opinion on their race. We're crying out loud. Just give them the 4%. You're a $120 billion business. I'm pretty sure you can pay your refs another 4%. They're asking for 10. You said 6. You do not want these high school referees popping in the door to referee NFL games.
No.
Because you're not going to get college refs, because college refs have to be doing college at the same time.
No games on Sundays.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to be able to. You see what I'm saying? It's like the NCAA has their referees.
All the way from like D2 to the MAC. Yeah,
it's all covered.
It's gonna be ugly, man.
Yeah. Now, by the way, this comment here is in fact true. Not necessarily for the reasons here, but it was true. The Broncos did petition the league for what was deemed and clearly shown to be pretty unfair and unreasonable treatment to Riley Moss. And I will say,
was that last season? Or?
That was last. It was last season. It was bad. Like it was objective. Wow. It was objectively bad. He was getting called penalties that were so ticky-tack. It was like objectively egregious. Like it was.
He was still a Pro Bowler, wasn't he?
And he was still a Pro Bowler. So that's what I think of the NFL reffing.
How do I not remember that? That's crazy.
And so, anyways, net happened where in the last few games of the year, the calls were far more reasonable. If he egregiously made a penalty, it was called. If it was just standard like hand fighting between the wide receiver and Moss, and they both did it, it was not called.
Well, you made a good point though. The point you made was early on, he gave himself a reputation, right?
Yes.
So there you go. So now he's paying for the reputation he gave. So that's my boy Blaine Craig right there. I gave him the link to yours because he asked about if super chats were available.
On my channel, they are, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, and Blaine, I still can't make it past rung 3 on the ladder, regardless of whether or not it's a Bronco or Canadian. So no grudges or anything, my man. But I got to work on the rankings somehow.
Hey, Blaine, let me tell you something. Blaine Craig is one of the real ones, a true NFL fan. He is not a hater ever. Not a fact. Not a fact when people say he's a hater. The dude speaks facts. He talks well. He speaks well. He talks about things that he knows. And him being a Raider fan makes me super proud, man. It's amazing.
I actually think Big E is correct on this one. And I'm a fan that the refs are saying no.
Yeah, same.
No, that's not true. That's not true what he's saying.
Oh.
They said either you make us full-time employees or you give us a 10% raise. The NFL said we're going to give you a 6% raise. I heard that. I heard that out of the horse's mouth today.
Does the public know how much these Muppets get a year for only working
But the thing about it is, what's 4% for the alternative? Is my point. You know what I mean?
They already make a ton
Just
of money,
give it to them.
and they're double dipping.
If that's what
too.
Yes, they're already working in their own jobs.
Somebody ran down the refs careers, and at the top, it's insane. I mean, yeah, you have some lower end people, but dude.
Thanks,
Blaine. That's awesome, dude. Made me look like a freaking champion, dude. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. So overall, my general thought process is based on my Denver Broncos and what's publicly available is we're in the 80th to 90th percentile that our second round pick is going to be offensive focused. And in the 80th to 90th percentile, it's probably going to be one of wide receiver, running back, or tight end, not necessarily in that order. I actually think running back will be at top of the list. Wide receiver and tight end will kind of be like a 2A, 2B kind of thing in terms of whatever's available. And that's my general consensus. Now, the Broncos could shock me and surprise me and go a completely different direction. Like Broncos country as a whole, I'm obviously different from most Broncos fans. I'm big into trench play, so my preference would actually be in our second round draft pick to go interior defensive line to a interior rushing defensive lineman, and then trade away Moss on the defensive side of the ball and go running back in the third. That would be my personal preference. And I would then target at that point Katron Allen in the third as an example. But that would be what I would want to do for my team to kind of further bolster it. I don't think Broncos are going to do that. I think we're going to largely stick with what we got. So,
hey, Richie, if you don't mind, can I address what Big E's saying? Look, I'm not saying that wasn't on the table. What I'm saying is what was asked for and what the NFL was offering them back was not what they asked for. I don't know if they want to be full-time employees, but I'm telling you what, full-time employees in referee world is not good because here's what will happen. A full-time employee, I think we actually had a show with the ref, and I was all about full-time employee reps.
Until hearing
why. And this was no kidding, an NFL referee we had on the show with us. And he said, if you do that, the NFL can clamp them to what calls they have to make and what teams they have to prefer and things like that. Look, that's the short part of it. This is why the refs wouldn't want to do that. They're only, from what I understand, I'm not telling you you're wrong. All I'm telling you is that the referees ask for 10% more because they work their normal jobs in the off season. And when they take that time off, they're not making the money they made in their normal jobs, right? So they're looking to make a little bit more money, 10% more. From what I understand, they were offered 6% more. So they're holding out for 10%. That's what I understand. And all the places that I'm looking at doesn't mean I know. I'm just saying the thing about it is the three of us right here had a show where we had an NFL referee on there that said, they do not want that. You do not want that. And to be honest with you, I thought for sure I did until ref came on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's different. Okay, now I understand. Because now that you're a full-time employee with the NFL, okay, the NFL, Roger Goodell, or whoever's in charge of the referees can say, look, we're going to be a little bit more relaxed on the holding calls this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't call that. That type of stuff. I'm like, damn, I didn't even think about that. So it's important to point out why the refs wouldn't want to.
I always just think in the back of my head that the NFL is not registered as a sport; it's registered as an entertainment.
Yeah.
Anytime I think of full-time refs, I'm going just red flags, like alarms and whistles are going off in my head, and I immediately think of like WWE or something. And I go,
ref told us that,
and I'm like, I do not. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, okay, damn, you just changed my entire focus on this whole deal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like as an example, like the NHL and all these other leagues are registered as like sports, so they're trying to stay as close to the pure sport as possible, and they advertise that that's what their aim is. But the NFL hasn't actually pretended that they're trying to stay to like the pure sport of football. They have actually registered themselves as an entertainment organization, and I think that's why we're seeing deviations actually to try to become more offensive focused and less defensive focused, because they're wanting the whiz bang. They're wanting the flash and whatnot. And
Al Davis would love it. Al Davis would love the whole idea.
Exactly. And I think that's fair. But I think the problem is that the defensive players on the field are not having it, and they're just elevating their play to make the offensive players not look as good, which is a credit to the quality of athletes that are out there. But at the net, the rules are 100% in favor of the offense and detrimental to the defense, including, by the way, the NFL's fine structure, which is absolutely a dog's breakfast when it comes to how they're negatively impacting defensive players at the NFL level.
Yeah.
However, we digress slightly, and we're moving away from the draft discussion we've been having. Overall, I've kind of given my general opinion on the Denver Broncos, and I think that we're going to largely see an offensive-heavy draft based on the comments that have been made by the senior management team on my Denver Broncos. DZ has given his opinion on the Chargers, and Nav his opinion on the Raiders. And that'll do it for the show as we round out here for the Wild Wild West on this Wednesday, April the 1st.
Always a pleasure, fellas.
Yeah,
always
Wednesday, April the 1st, which is going to be, I think we're going to have some really interesting times coming up in the NFL, and it's going to say a lot about the mental mindset of our various teams.
Hold on. Mendoza was in a car accident.
Yeah, I'm not falling for that BS. I knew something was happening because I was like, when Richie said the date, I was like, somebody's going to come up with something real quick.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. A little late in the day for nonsense like that, Nav. But anyways, next week we're gonna be getting into some other stuff. I think we are gonna see if we can't maybe get some of the ref information here on the show to kind of balance out what's going on. I'm gonna try to reach out to a couple of our contacts that we all know to get some additional information if it's possible. That would be lovely, in my opinion. I think it's very targeted and pointed, as it were, in terms of the news that's coming out. And then, of course, we're going to be yet another week closer to the NFL draft at that point as well, where we're going to have some interesting pieces from pro days, certainly more so than we have today. But ladies and gentlemen, That'll do it for the show today. Where next week, where the West Side is the best side, we're going to see you then. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.